You won't break my soul. 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 I'm telling everybody, 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 everybody. Now I just fell in love. Now I just quit my job. I'm gonna find no drive.
Good morning and welcome back to the Panther podcast. My name is Terrence Harris. I am one of your hosts today. Today we have two more hosts.
Taylor Woods.
And Miles Jones.
And we have a very, very special guest, Dr. Lisa Herring.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to be with all of you this morning here for the podcast. I've been looking forward to this.
Me too.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
So before we get started, how are you? How are you feeling?
So I feel great. It's Monday. I think we're about 2 weeks out before spring break.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certain that everybody in the room is like head nodding, like, yes,
Yes.
please, spring break. Don't know what that tends to look like for you all. For me, historically, over the last several years, I tend to work during spring break. I think I'm going to tap out a little bit and break during spring break so that we don't break, right? But the weeks leading up, there's just always a lot going on. And in the role of superintendency, it's a joyful opportunity to be busy to handle the work for students. But let me tell you, to pause, it's always important to me to pause and be with you. So this is great. I'm feeling excited.
Me too.
Good.
Hopping straight into it. First,
Right.
we're going to go into like a topic about who are you? Who is Dr. Lisa Herring?
So who am I? The things I would want you to know, what I would have said when I was 17 versus who I am now. Does that work in brevity, right? So full transparency, I'm 50 years old and 50 years young. And when I think about who I am as a professional and as a person and how I identify, I am very clear that I am an African-American female leader who is passionate about, always have been passionate about work that is tied to children. But now when you remove the title, like Dr. Herring, and it's like, so, but who are you, Lisa? Lisa Nicole. I am a big kid at heart. Those who really know me would say, yes, you all see her in her professional steps day to day. But when she's not stepping in that way, she's hilarious. Laughter and joy is important in
really
just
is.
existing. I believe that all of us have purpose. I believe my purpose is that I've been called to advocate for children and to connect. I'm an innovator. I like to think that I am. I'm a thought leader. That's really important to me in this season of my life. And being a thought leader doesn't mean that I only connect with individuals who are over the age of 50. Like, thought leadership is everyone. Like, this is a thought leadership moment. And because my work is tied to advocating for students, I would not be wise if I didn't value the thought leadership that you give. I like to believe I'm a creative. That's really important to me to say to you, because a creative means more than what you see on paper. And oftentimes creatives thrive when they're out of the box. I say that because I like to think more about education in an out of the box way.
Yes,
and then
ma'am.
finally, I'm a mom. I have a 26-year-old daughter. I've been a single mom all of my life, so that's okay. I'm single, and I am the daughter of Wallace and Lena, and I'm a sister. I have 3 brothers. My father passed during pandemic 6 months after I became your superintendent, and so that changed me a little bit. That's okay, because that's the journey, and I am waking up every day focusing on how to encourage you and being the best leader I can be. So I'm a leader, and I know that, and I'm comfortable and confident in that.
Dr. Herring, you went to Spelman, the University of South Carolina. You went to Georgia, and you also went to Georgia Southern. You have many degrees from all of those universities. What was going through your head? Like, what made you want to go back to school?
Yeah, so I love learning. So kind of that part of me saying I'm a bit of a kid at heart. I love learning. And the first question about, like, so who are you? I kind of give you a little bit of background about me growing up. And so I had a love for a few things. I loved books. I love music. I love reading. I love writing. So I love learning.
Yes, ma'am.
And I grew up in a household where I was the only girl, 3 brothers. So when I was thinking about college, and to be clear, college was not an experience that my parents had the opportunity to formally complete. So my 4 siblings and I, my oldest brother was the first in our family to go to college. He went to and graduated from Tuskegee. Then it was my turn, and so I watched my brother Wallace, and I, growing up in a household full of men, had learned about Spelman College from my principal, Gloria Washington, and the female leaders around me that looked like me. Then I visited Spelman, and I was like, ooh, this is where I'm supposed to be. It was a game changer for me as a Black female to have attended an HBCU for women, one of the few, but without question, the best in the country. I'm going to say on the planet. Beyond that, something different happened as well. It's a little bit more about me. I love being transparent. I graduated in 1994 from Spelman. I got pregnant in 1995, right after I graduated. So I became a mom in 1996. And that was also a part of my journey. I was like, all right, I'm going to be a mom. I'm not married. And I want to provide the best life I can for this child. And I love learning. And I believe that part of being able to provide the best life experience that I can is to pursue all of the learning that I could get. And so from there, I was very intentional around what I wanted to do. I started out as a teacher, and my students used to say things to me like, when I was not sure about being a counselor, my students were like, Miss Herring, you ever thought about being a counselor? Because it's so easy to talk to you. So then I went to graduate school, South Carolina,
Right.
and took my 6-month-old daughter and graduated in 2 years and became a school counselor. And then the leadership part was happening, and people around me would oftentimes say things that spoke to what they saw. So I balanced that with what I yearned for, what I heard people say, and what I was aspiring to do. So I stayed in school. And you want to laugh? I was in a meeting this morning, and I was thinking about school again. There's always going to be more to learn and know. Now, at this point, I mean, with a doctorate, I don't necessarily have to go back to school, but you never stop learning.
Right.
And the other thing I often say, because I want y'all to hear this too, is that I'm the granddaughter of a sharecropper who never went to school. My grandpa would tell his story from Eatonton, Georgia. I'm from Macon, Georgia, which is just an hour south down 75. But my grandpa, down 20, was a sharecropper and went to school one day. He learned his alphabet and he learned his numbers. He never learned to read. Still, at 96, was the most brilliant man that I knew. And he said to me and all of my cousins, go to school and learn all you can. I didn't have that opportunity, but you all did. And the power about that is whatever you learn, that's the one thing that no one can ever take away from you. And it's also the thing that gives you the power to do whatever you want. All of that combined is why I think you see that I just kept wanting to learn, and I still do.
Right.
Okay, so I want to ask about, as far as you working with schools, like, what was your experience and how did you feel when you realized that the work that you did brought the entire averages of these different schools up from F's to C's coming up?
Yeah. So you're talking about some of the work that I did before I became your superintendent and the work we're trying to do now, which is not as complicated as we make it out to be. So when I became a superintendent in 2017, I was in Birmingham, Alabama, and I inherited a position that the school system was considered a failing school system. And of all of our schools, a little over 40, over half of them were F or D rated schools. And by the time I left, we had an opportunity to flip that. I'm very proud of that work. We don't talk about that as much as we need to. And your question really is, Taylor, like, how did I feel? When I accepted that position to become superintendent, I was a chief academic officer in Kentucky. I had worked in Charleston, South Carolina. I had worked in DeKalb County here, and in Bibb County, Macon, where I'm from. Superintendency is different. You're responsible for everything and everybody. Even if you're not the one doing it, you're responsible for it.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You're the CEO. It's on you. But the work is taught to how you learn and how well you learn. And we don't build cars. We don't make microphones. We are trying to provide the resources you all need to shape your minds and to be successful, beautiful citizens to accomplish dreams. I felt proud of the work that I did to help change what the experience would look like for every student that entered the school building in the city where I was leading. I still am proud of the opportunity to lead, but I want to be clear that turning schools around is, for as much as it is about making certain that you have resources, we're human beings. That just is equally important as you knowing how to read and write. And for us to be able to assess and say, oh, well, I see you have some issues here when you're trying to do this. Here's a resource to help you become a better reader or to learn how to read. Or there's something going on, here's a resource to help you. The other part of that, and you all know this much better than I do, is taught to human relationships. Walking into a building where you are spending, out of a 12-hour day of being awake, almost 8 hours, more than half, feeling like people know you and see you and really care about you. Culture, organizational culture is everything. Having the right resources that you need, that's uniquely tailored to you, is important. Keeping the adults accountable, but also making certain that they care about you and like really see you. And then the other part for me, which is a different part of how it's starting to look, is that we are innovative. When you go to school every day, it should not look anything like it did when I went in 1988. I graduated in 1990, so it's from high school. So from 1986 to 1990, 2020 to 2023, 24 shouldn't look like that. Well, actually it can't, because we've had interruptions. So I believe that's where innovation matters. You asked the question, Taylor, about how I feel. I'm proud of what I have seen occur. I got 2 texts last week from 2 different students. One was Jillian, who was a student of mine in Birmingham. She was a part of the Student Advisory Council. Jillian graduated the same year I became superintendent here, and she sent me a text of her graduation picture from Yale. Jillian, African-American female, she was like, Dr. Herring, I didn't know your mailing address, but I needed you to know how much I appreciated you. You were a superintendent, but I knew you, and you played a big role in that. And then I taught a class last semester at Spelman, and one of my students who was a senior, who was like, I don't know if I should apply to Harvard. I was like, you gonna apply to Harvard. She was like, Dr. Herring, I got you. That's how I felt, Taylor. That's how I felt. That's how I feel about this work. That's the best example I can give you.
Going back to your role as superintendent, for the people that don't really know what you do and how you do it, can you please explain?
You know, the funny part is most people have no clue how the work occurs. So for a superintendent in a city and in a district the size of Atlanta, you are both the superintendent and the CEO, chief executive officer. Atlanta Public Schools to operate, to make certain that all the things we have, personnel, staff, lunch, buses, et cetera, to operate costs $1.4 billion a year. As the superintendent, my signature in compliance and in collaboration with the chief financial officer, and the decisions that we make are tied to multi-million-dollar decisions that are also open to the court of public opinion around how we should do right by and for children and teachers. So it's very political. It's a high demand role, and it's also tied to how you establish an organizational culture. Let me keep it simple, right? Money management for the organization, Atlanta Public Schools is in a very sound and good position. How we hire individuals, whether that's principals, teachers, staff. So I, as a superintendent, actually make the final decision on principals who are hired. But the community plays a role in Atlanta Public Schools through Go Teams, et cetera. So by the time I see finalists, they've gone through a series of interviews. with others, decisions around, okay, we've gone through a pandemic. How do we help? How do we ensure that you have technology? And people come to me daily with decisions. We want to make certain that every student has a device, Dr. Herring. We want to make certain that when we create a studio at Therrell High School, the students have state-of-the-art equipment. We want to make certain that lunch is good. I saw it. And it's going to get better, by the way. So get ready, because that was put on my radar. And we most importantly want to make certain, because it's been different these last 3 years. I've been in education over 20 years. These last 3 years have looked and felt different. But as a superintendent, it's about making certain that people are well, like our children are well. We've been through trauma, and that teachers are well, and that principals are well. And I came on as a superintendent, and I couldn't do this, like sit in a room for a solid year and a half. We were all looking at each other on the screen, and I became your new superintendent that you didn't know. So still working on that. Yeah. Does that help with kind of the day-to-day?
Really?
Lots of legal. So on the way here, my general counsel texts, hey, can we jump on a call? Absolutely, we can. Managing legal decisions. I have 9 board members. So a superintendent, in many instances, either is appointed or hired by the school board. The public, you all, anybody over 18 or almost 18, anybody able to vote yet?
No, ma'am.
Almost.
Well, when you're able to vote, you not only vote for your mayor and your president, you also vote for your school board members. School board members select who the superintendent will be. And I have 9 individuals that govern me, 9 board members, and they are the ones who decide how, if the superintendent is able to stay or if it's time for a new superintendent, et cetera. So that's how that's how it looks. It's very unique. And you want someone who matches and complements the work you want to see in your schools. And as students, you have a voice. Last thing, as a superintendent, I think, because I understand our core business is teaching and learning, a whole bunch of other things around that. But if teaching and learning is the core business of what we do, right? Chick-fil-A, we make chicken sandwiches, and it is our pleasure to serve you.
Right.
Any school system, we educate children. Our core business is teaching and learning. So to me, the end customer, the most important client, is court sitting right in front of me, students. Yeah.
So, Dr. Herring, along your journey to professionalism, or however you want to call it, were there any women in your life that motivated you or inspired you to do what you do now?
Yes. I wrote about that in my dissertation because I was looking to identify with Black women who had been superintendents. And Georgia didn't have its first superintendent that was a woman of color until 1984, and that was Beauty Baldwin, who was the superintendent in Beaufort County, Georgia, right outside of Gwinnett. That was important to me to ask myself, is this something that I want to do? Historically, superintendents in America have been positions held by white men, and that's still the majority, that the majority of superintendents are white men. The women and women of color have started to evolve more, and of course more men of color, but we are still the minority.
Right.
And the women who influenced me, starting from the very beginning, would be my mom and my grandmother, who, when I thought I was going to go to law school, she was like, baby, you're going to be working for children. I was like, well, then, Grandma, I'm going to go to law school and work for children. She was like, you're going to be working on behalf of children. And she spoke life into me. And my mom did, who always encouraged me when I said I wanted to do something to do it. My daughter, who is 26, but I have to be honest, she's my friend, and she's encouraged me. But even before her, I had mentors. And so Gloria Washington was my mentor. She was my principal at Southwest High School, Macon. She went to Spelman, wrote my letter of recommendation. And then when I got into the field, I had women who saw a leader in me, even when I didn't see a leader in me, and would speak to me becoming something more than whatever I was doing. Not to say that whatever I was doing wasn't great. I loved being a school counselor, by the way. I was a school counselor in DeKalb County, loved it. But even then, there were women around me saying, you should think about this. And then when I became an administrator in central office, a lot of people started saying, you should be a superintendent. But there were 2 women leaders who were former superintendents who said, you're going to be a superintendent one day. And I said, I see what y'all do every day. I'm good. I can be a great chief. they spoke life. So
Right.
be mindful of the people that speak life into you, and then be thoughtful about your ability to receive it, and see the people that represent what you want to be. And you can say, wow, that could be me. Like, that could be me. If that could be me, have that conversation. And sometimes when I wasn't looking or wasn't even thinking about it, and if I'm being honest, sometimes when I was like, oh, I don't do this anymore, someone would surface. So you asked specifically along the journey if there were women.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the question is absolutely yes. And I also believe that I have a responsibility to now do the same thing, whether you're 17 or 16 or 12 or 26 or whatever the journey is. Yeah, it was a great question. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's say you could go back in time. What would you tell little Lisa when she was in high school? Is there any message you would leave for her?
Yes, 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 yes. This is where the odd, like, Twilight Zone music ought to play. Y'all are like, what is Twilight Zone? I don't know what I would say. So yeah. If I could go back in time and talk to high school Lisa, I would say, be more confident, girl. Everything you are thinking about possibly doing and could do it. Stop second guessing yourself. You're making the right decisions. There's nothing wrong with you. You are strong enough. You are beautiful enough. Stop comparing yourself to everybody else. Stop comparing yourself to everybody else. Get out of your own way. Get out of your head. I would also say, do more to have fun. There's a lot of life ahead of you. There's a lot of time to be an adult. I don't know how y'all are going to feel about this next one. But honestly, I would say it's cute that you are dating and all this stuff. Lisa, I'm talking to the old Lisa, right? But girl, don't be so serious so soon. You're gonna meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
You're gonna meet a lot of people. You might not even see them because don't get so caught up. Life is waiting for you. And be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. We can be our biggest barrier, and not by design. And then the other thing I would tell that Lisa is to be very intentional about the people you call your friends. Mm-hmm. And when you do find people that become your friend, make certain that you always give room for more. And something that someone told me that I wish I had been told even earlier on, keep people in your circle that pour into you. You should be gaining, not being drained. Having friends should be a gaining experience, not a draining one. Right. Keep people around you that are smarter than you and that help you sharpen who you are, and have fun. Because as soon as adulting hits, still have fun, but those priorities are no joke. They are no joke. Yeah, and love yourself.
So to lighten the mood a little bit.
Was that heavy? Oh, lighten it. Let's lighten it. Okay.
To lighten the mood a little bit, we have a short segment called You Trivia.
Okay.
The topic is not topic, but like what's the word for it?
What's the word?
The purpose is for us to get to know you a little bit better.
Right.
It's a quick answers only, and yeah.
That's it.
Try to keep it under 60 seconds per question.
You got to tell me that because I'm talkative. So and y'all give me like this little. All right, Lisa.
Okay.
All right, Taylor, be like.
So, favorite subject?
Now? Or?
Yeah. Now, later, or now in the past?
Past English.
English? I could really tell.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, I took some notes before we stepped into this room.
Yes.
I was taking notes on like Saturday and Sunday, and I read on LinkedIn that you actually were an English teacher.
Yes.
And
yes.
You have a degree in English.
I do.
Well.
I do.
Yeah.
It's the power of words. Words are so it's be brief. But it is the power of words. It's in how we choose to use them. And I'm not talking about the Queen's English. I'm talking about the power of words. Like us owning the power of words next.
Um, what is your hometown?
Macon, Georgia, home of Otis Redding, also home of Lisa Herring.
Favorite part of Atlanta?
Tick, tick.
Hold on.
Favorite part of Atlanta, the Beltline. I'm gonna say the Beltline today, because I got to be quick. So the favorite part is the Beltline. Favorite part is the Beltline right now.
The Beltline is pretty cool.
It is.
Favorite food spot?
Favorite food spot. Don't overthink it. When I don't need to eat too much of it, where are the best wings? I like them flat, lemon pepper, extra crispy, wet. Right? I'm just saying. Yeah, I live in Cascade. I live in the Therrell cluster, FYI. So there are a couple of places where I'm still like finding my wing place. But yeah.
It's American Deli, right? It has to
So
be
let
American Deli.
me tell you something.
Okay.
So my daughter likes American Deli, and no diss to American Deli, but my stomach doesn't respond to American Deli like it used to. It doesn't. But there's this hibachi stop right over there at Cascade by the Kroger.
By the Kroger?
Yeah, y'all don't eat there.
I eat there.
I do. It's right over there at the Kroger off Cascade. And
I know where the Kroger is, but I can't picture.
It's right next to Domino's.
The Domino's.
So you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's
then
not a bank. It's a Bank of America in the parking lot area.
That's right. And let me tell you, my other good spot is I like seafood and mussels is Baltimore Crab and Seafood right over there in the cut behind Chick-fil-A.
The Wings and Burger Factory.
Because right there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Great mussels. Yes.
New school or old school music?
Old school, and new school. And when they get married, what do you call that? An old school? I don't know. But if I'm going to have to go old school first. Yeah.
So new school or old school fashion, like clothing wear?
I'm going to say old school because, look, I got on a turtleneck. Raise your hand if you're on a turtleneck.
I think I got one.
I bet you do. Turtlenecks have been around since the 70s. That's called the marriage of old and new school, right? But probably a little bit more of the old school flair. Yeah.
That was the last question. Do you have any questions for us?
Yes. Favorite songs? Go.
I'm stuck. Somebody else go.
I have a bunch of favorite songs.
Top though.
I'd probably say Change by J. Cole.
J. Cole. Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yes.
I can't think of not a dang.
We coming back though. Taylor. Yes.
Ultimatum.
Ultimate. Okay, and come on, you got to give us a song.
You gotta give us one.
Marceline by Willow.
Okay, by Willow. Okay, excellent. All right. Favorite dance move?
The worm. No, I'm joking.
Like the worm? like the worm? Yeah.
I was say it's not a dance move, but that TikTok dance little.
Yeah. Okay. See,
I'm not much of a dancer, so I really don't have a favorite dance.
that's all good.
When I mean,
Here's my question: Instagram, TikTok, or Instagram, TikTok. What's the third one? Instagram, TikTok,
Twitter?
or Twitter?
No one's on Twitter anymore. Not really.
I'm not. I know my friends. They be like, "Why you don't got
People
Twitter?"
over 30 are. Yes. So what is it? Instagram or TikTok?
Probably
It's TikTok. It's TikTok.
Instagram.
I don't even be on Instagram like that.
I don't be on TikTok.
Blue check. Blue check.
Oh,
verify.
no.
Okay. I'm like, nah. Okay. All right. If you could have the best school lunch day ever, what would we be serving you?
Chick-fil-A or some American Deli wings.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
I agree.
Oh,
American
hold on.
Deli.
Yes.
Nah,
Come
I
on,
gotta
Taylor.
disagree.
Okay.
I need some tacos. Oh my
Okay,
god.
really?
But they gotta be real
Really?
tacos. They gotta be real tacos.
What do you call real tacos?
Seasoned tacos.
Okay, I feel you. Yeah. So you.
I agree with the American Deli.
All right.
Or burrito tacos. I really love some burrito
Y'all are
tacos.
stretching. Y'all know they not finna buy American Deli for the whole school.
I mean,
Hey,
they
man.
can.
Right.
Let's be
right.
real.
But so y'all don't like so your favorite hot meal, and you cannot say something fast food. Do you have a favorite hot meal?
I do.
What is it?
My grandma, sometimes she makes cube steak and some cabbage
Yes.
with
Full of gravy.
yes, with gravy and the mashed potatoes.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to hear that. Yes.
My grandma. Oh, when she make meatloaf and mashed potatoes.
See?
There we go.
Call the meat and
There we
greens
go.
here. Yes.
There we
Okay,
go.
but what you got? What you
I
got?
had that one.
You had
I had
meatloaf.
meatloaf.
So if you walked into the cafeteria, you want to see Meatloaf and mashed potatoes? Or you want to see
Like some
American
soul
deli
food.
and French fries?
Soul food.
I'm gonna need that mashed potatoes. And
So,
meatloaf.
so it does something for you. And listen, y'all can't see y'all smiling like the way I see y'all smiling, but that's helpful. And I do want to name that we put together a task force to help in that space. So it's going to look a little different than when you come back to school next year.
I actually want to vouch for whoever's over the food. I actually like lunch a lot better.
Thank
this
you.
year.
I want to hear that. I
And
want to hear that.
Taylor can tell you about that because
He be
last
busting
year.
down with 4 trays.
Okay, like he
my
eating.
God.
You eat.
Yes.
Okay, that's important. Do y'all know how important that is? So for many of our students, breakfast and lunch they're highly reliable on that for filling up for the day, right? And so I am thoughtful about the feedback that we've received. And I came in during COVID and then out of COVID, and it's just been like, you're gonna have to do. Can you please help? So we're working through that. Yeah.
Okay, we done had our fun. We're gonna come back to it. We're gonna come back to it. We're gonna come back to it.
Okay.
But let's talk about standing against violence.
Let's do it.
What kind of things can we do or are already in the works to decrease the amount of violence in our community?
So let's just kind of get to the core of it, right? Violence, youth violence, I believe is a public health issue, first and foremost. But when we talk about public health and we talk about the health of a person, the whole child, the whole person, we're talking about mental health, mental wellness, your social health. Whole life, exactly. And I've been doing this work, particularly in student services, for years. Mental health is important. What happens at home is important. Being able to provide resources for you to address wellness issues, that's number one. And the number two, particularly at a certain age, somewhere between the ages of 9 or 8 to 21, what you do outside of school or when you're not at home and when you're not at school, all that free time, out of school time, that's like extraordinarily important. And a sense of belonging. Those are the 3 factors that I have observed as a superintendent and as an educator that matter to help address the issues of violence prevention. Number 1, if we're simply just not well, if we are having issues emotionally at home. Correct, starting at home.
At home is like really, really important.
Yes.
Like a lot of people take it for granted, but it really builds your character about what happens at home and what environment you're raised in.
That's correct. And the school system can't control that. And in many homes, I'm a mama. What happens in this house stays in this house, right? Like you don't need to be going out talking about, but the truth is in many of our homes, there's a greater need for support. And I'm gonna tell you why I know that's true. Because when I am calling families because there's been a tragedy, the first part of the conversation when I'm asking what can we do to help, they start naming things that they would have wanted to have had at the onset, to have had at home, whether it's counseling or more for Lisa to do, or Lisa got caught up with I'm just saying Lisa to be general, right? Or Lisa or Lee got caught up with the wrong peers, socialization and belonging. Or even if I see you coming in the house from school and then leave, and then I don't see you till 3:00 in the morning. Like what's happening
What's
in that
going on
space,
in
right?
in that
I know you have access to a weapon because it's in the house. Maybe we have weapons. Maybe we have not. So to your point, that's correct. But so I remember I said, so there's the wellness component. There's the what do we do when you're not in school? Beyond being a creative or innovative, how do we make it meaningful for you? How do we create opportunities where you're also getting income while you learn a different skill that's of interest? And the other is the sense of belonging, the friends you keep. And if you don't have a sense of belonging and you feel that people don't see you, you connect with those that do. And if those that see you
aren't the right people.
That part.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's so much for us to do. But the school system cannot do it alone. And households simply can't do it alone. But there's so much we can do together. I told you earlier, what did I say? The core business was a T&L work, teaching and learning. Mm-hmm. The other truth is it's more than that now. It's just so much more. We had to be medical experts for the last 3 years, and we're not, but we had to connect with them. And now we're very intentional about trauma and how to help in that space. We keep making that a bigger level of responsibility together. That's the other part. And to be honest enough to say, need help. That's hard. It's hard for families, and sometimes we just don't take the time. And we don't always build that safe space to be able to say it and feel supported. And I want that in all of our schools so it can cascade out. Yeah. can tell you have a question.
It's not really a question. It's kind of like a statement or like a thing I hear a lot. It takes a village.
Yeah.
So to keep up a school,
Yes.
it'll take everyone.
Yes.
So I feel like it'll take like the school, the parents at home, and that piece of just community engagement with the
Yes.
students, the school. It'll uplift like that sense of togetherness that we need
Correct.
in order to decrease the amount of just people doing crazy stuff.
Correct. And then it's so do you know what I mean when I say a cadence? So like it's a repetition, like this ongoing effort. So this, I'm not sure when will air, but on March 25th, which is this coming Saturday, we're hosting we're hosting a youth violence prevention workshop in partnership with one of our strong partners in the city of Atlanta, Chris 180. They provide a lot of intervention and support to students and families around the areas of social, emotional health and wellness, behavioral health. And the city will be there. The mayor will come through. I'll be there. But we're having it Saturday at Mays High School between 2 to 5. So it's like, and when is the perfect time? I was here at Therrell last semester for a parent engagement workshop on a Saturday morning. It wasn't just for Therrell, it was for the school system. But there were more people presenting than there were people that could fill the chairs in the audience. And so we're trying to figure out, how do we work through those challenges? How do I get your peers to show up? Short of asking for a celebrity. Go ahead. What you gonna say?
Tell them it's free food. I'm telling you, everyone will show up.
So American Deli, Chick-fil-A.
It don't even have to be food here. All you got to do is just say we got free food.
Free food, and people will show up.
People will show.
I agree.
Yes.
That or like, you get volunteer hours for attending, stuff like that. I feel like, because it's a Saturday, so some people are like, I
It's
got stuff to do
Saturday.
Saturdays, but like if you tell them ahead of time and they see stuff that they can gain from it,
Yes.
besides like, emotional,
Yes.
then they're more likely
Kind
to
of
go.
snatch them in
Yeah,
and
like, hey,
balance
come
it
on,
out.
come on.
So just show up and we can give you from 2 to 5, 3 volunteer hours, which is important as well, with something to eat, right? And while you're there, you can gain something. I received
Because
that.
they won't really take that opportunity. They won't take the initiative if they don't feel like they can gain anything from it.
That's fair.
And they'll overlook the fact that it'll help them mentally, physically, whatever is going on, it'll help them. They'll overlook that just because there's no incentive behind it.
So that's the struggle. I'm being honest, right? Because we want to provide opportunities. Now, in a perfect world, if we could do it during the school day while you're already here, get them while you got them, right? That's one piece. And the other reality is, particularly with our younger students, when they're on display and they're performing, parents, you're going to show up because I want to see little Lisa sing her solo or do her step or what have you, or speak. But outside of that, it can become a little bit more challenging. So I'm very honest when I say that. And Matt, share something else. So we've made available. Are you all familiar with the fact that we've made telemedicine available in Atlanta Public Schools? We call it Hazel Health.
Yes.
That felt great. Because it wasn't for anybody but for you. And our Student Advisory Council last year said we needed it. But how do we get your peers to take greater advantage of that? It can be private. Like everyone doesn't have to know that you scanned it and you're like, I need somebody to talk to.
It has to. I don't know. It's a privacy feeling and the feeling that they don't want anyone to know that it's like stuff going on.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would go about it like myself, getting more people involved. I feel like just a side conversation, or like you were saying earlier, personal relationships, human relationships with like their teachers and closer relationship with their peers, like on a deeper level than, we're classmates. You can help me with my work.
Right. It matters. And so there's something about feeling seen and heard that it doesn't matter what age you are. Listen, it doesn't matter. 75, 80, 50, 16, 20, all the numbers in between. It's at no cost. It's free. This is one of the things I was saying that I really value your suggestions on how we can make that much more available and impactful for our children, because it's here. It's going to be here at least for the remainder of this academic year. And students are using it, but I know that there are more who need it than there are those who are using it. Yeah.
So our next question, who else do you believe can play a role in the welfare for standing against violence in our community?
Yeah. Everyone plays a part.
Mm-hmm.
But you want me to name, and so I will. So beyond and aside from the school system,
Right.
households play the most critical role, right? Homes, parents, whoever's raising you, auntie, grandma, grandparents, uncles, friends, the community, our broader community, any space and place where you spend your time. Everybody is an influencer.
Right.
Now, what they choose to do with their influencer superpowers is
It's
up to them, that part. But in the meantime, where you, if you are a person of faith, if that's a space where you dwell, then our faith-based community, those are influencers, our after-school, out-of-school time partners, whether that's the Y or the Boys and Girls Club or Parks and Recreation. Our city plays a role. Our mayor is clear that not only does the city play a role, but he's like, this is the year of the youth, 2023, and we're going to wrap around our children, and we're going to do it in partnership with the school system, and that matters. And it matters because we can't do it alone. And I would also say businesses are, whether you work at Chick-fil-A or whether you work at the mall or whether you work at any given
Publix,
spot.
where shopping
Publix,
is a pleasure.
listen, and whether I am in Sandtown or Cascade, wherever I am, excuse me, hey, Dr. Herring, I did get that quite a bit. Everybody's an influencer, if I'm being honest. And what we have to do is create the narrative or the conversation that invites ownership. But I will also say, perhaps even the biggest influencer out of all would be you. You know, the truth of the matter is when you're somewhere between the ages of 16 to 21, I can be your mentor and friend and tell you something a bunch of times. But you could just be chilling at the movie theater or walking with your friend and they can say it and it may land a little different. But mentoring does matter, so I also want to name that. And so the trusted adults that you have in your life, they too are influencers. But remember I said, all of us are influencers on this walk against violence prevention. It's like when you're in the airport, when we travel, whether you've been or not, they always say, if you see something, say something. They've said that since the whole 911, this global violence prevention. If you see something, say something.
Right.
The if you see something, say something isn't just about I saw someone with a gun or I happen to know that something's about to pop off after school. It's also about I see my friend and I can see in her eyes that she
she's
is
hurting.
that part. That's the part. Yeah. So all of us are influencers. Yeah.
What are the top 3 accomplishments of the district while you were in office?
Were or like here now?
Yes.
Yes. So let's talk about that. I'm going to name it because people don't always embrace it, but I get it when I'm still meeting people who haven't had a chance to meet me since I came in during the pandemic. One of our major accomplishments was that Atlanta Public Schools was an influencer around how we managed during the pandemic. Our decision to be virtual for the time period that we were, which was sometimes complicated and not always celebrated. But there were parts of our community that we knew we had to protect. They weren't being vaccinated. We were a champion in that. We were one of the first to make testing available. All of those things grounded in national attention. I'm proud of that. Now, at the same time, that was a disruption. And so we were looking at our performance scores of our students. And so we've taken seriously the data that we see in math and reading proficiency and performance. I have to say this because there's been this conversation around, you came here and then our scores went, well, so across the country, when the pandemic hit, everyone was impacted around how we see math and reading performance drop. But Atlanta Public Schools, we've invested in resources and interventions and teacher training, and we're starting to see growth in ways that are really important because that means we're getting to more students being proficient. But I want to say this, if this is the starting line, and I know if you can't see me, that's one thing, but if you hold up your hand and you say, this is the starting line, but this is where you started, you hadn't even made it to the starting line, you've got to grow to at least get to the starting line to then get to proficient. Our growth rate in APS is outstanding. More students are getting closer to the starting line to then get to proficient, and that's important because we need and we want our students reading and being able to perform on grade level and above before they get to high school, before they're in middle school. Right. And our data shows a trend that's encouraging. Those are two things. And then third, we've been extraordinarily intentional around how we've invested in supporting our teachers. And I have to name that because it feels different now that we're in a different space in terms of educating our teachers and professionally developing them. And so I'm proud of that work, but there's still more work to do.
So what are some of the improvements that you would like to see coming forward in APS?
Yeah, so several. So there's an opportunity to engage more. As the superintendent that came in during a complicated time, I still encounter people who are like, I've not met her yet. And so engagement matters because relationships matter. And so I want to see more of that, not just with my administration, but across our schools. We've got new leadership. Each year it's a new cohort of students, and we are an APS family. And I want our system to not only exist as such, but to authentically feel that. The improvement of our relationships across and within our cluster. So you think, okay, I'm Therrell. And then you also have peers and friends that are everywhere. Booker T, Washington, South Atlanta, North Atlanta. So we are an APS family. That is a goal that I look forward to us all helping to influence. From a performance level, I want us to continue to see us thrive for our children. You all thrive in the areas of performance and career transition. One of the things I want to name is that our highest graduation rate in history in Atlanta Public Schools happened last year. 84% was the graduation rate for Atlanta Public Schools. That's something that I'm proud of because we've been through a lot as a system and we didn't fall backwards. We're trending upwards. But here's what I've also been saying as your superintendent, and I know this to be true. 84%, that's important. 16% we still got to account for. But I don't want you to have graduated. And then people ask you that question that we wear out, what you doing next? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. Before you graduate, I want you to be able to say, well, you know what? I was exploring entrepreneurship skills while I was in high school. And not only have I started my own business, I'm going to be graduating and I'm going to continue my business. And I am actually going to push my business as an independent entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship skills are real. I'm already certified. I connected with another business and they're helping me to develop that. Or I knew I wanted to go to school. I wasn't sure, but I discovered that. So I'm already enrolled and accepted. I actually got some credits done before I graduated. Now I'm heading on. Or I'm employed. I was doing the Grow with Google. I got all of my Google credentials and certifications done my sophomore and junior year. My senior year, I actually started working at Google. So when I graduate, I'm going to work. Mm-hmm. I'm going to work. I'll be working at Google as a content developer after high school. Like this is what I would see for you. That's what I'd like for your journeys to look like. Or if you are, I'm going to enlist. This is something that we've always done. What those 4 E's, entrepreneurship, employment, being enlisted or being enrolled before you leave your senior year. That's what I want us to see that's different. And I'm telling you that companies are like, okay, how can we make that happen? Because companies are like, we already know there's going to be an employment gap. So if we can join you on that journey and invite you into our company and start training you, there are going to be more jobs that don't require a 4-year degree than there are those that do. And the 4-year degree requirements aren't going anywhere. You can do both if you so desire. Mm-hmm. What I want for you all as graduates is for you to say, I've got all these options and I'm going to thrive wherever, but this is where my heart and head is. So I'm going to go this way. That's what I want to see more of.
Gotcha.
I thought you was about to ask the next question, but
I mean,
okay.
Can I just be honest? And I get so excited about it. It's the right work. It's the right work for you. Like that's what excites me. So that so you're juniors, right?
Sophomore.
Okay, sophomores and juniors. So then you are the class of 2024, 25.
Yes, ma'am.
I want the text that Jillian sent and that Kennedy sent from you all, which was, Dr. Herring, let me thank you because this is what's happening in my world. And it happened because I was in Atlanta Public Schools. And that's why we do this, why I do this work. Yeah.
So we're going to move on to our GOAT segment now. It's another.
It's another segment. To
Like
where,
greatest of all time.
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
It's another. It's another quick answering segment. So you got 60 seconds or less.
I got to.
So first question: your favorite fast food restaurant? Well, I won't say your favorite. What, in your opinion, what do you feel is the greatest fast food restaurant of all time?
I am going to give credit to Chick-fil-A as being the GOAT
Whoop, whoop.
because of the following. How many times in your week, in your day, in your life, do you have someone say to you, "It's my pleasure to serve you today. How may I serve you?" So I'm a servant leader. But beyond that, that's just out of authenticity and the desire to make you happy. That's a model, man. That you be so happy. He's just like he's the best waffle fries because they really were concerned that I didn't get enough pickles.
And then they always hot.
Listen,
Right.
and
They're always hot.
and they have stood true to their belief around service. And that's why those lines are wrapped around. And even that model, y'all even get in the line when it's wrapped around because you're like, but they didn't work that part out already.
Right.
Because you're going to still move. It's, they're the GOAT. They're the GOAT. And even when everybody else was like, we got a new chicken sandwich. And they were like, oh, we got a new chicken sandwich. And we was like, y'all try it. They were like, we'll wait.
Right.
Y'all coming back? We'll wait. Yeah.
So next question: what do you feel is the greatest Netflix show?
Oh gosh. Actually, I don't watch TV during the week, and so when I do watch TV, I Netflix.
Okay.
I'm gonna run out of time, and I don't watch TV every weekend. The last one was really good. It was really good. Y'all got any? Y'all toss my way, and I can be like, yeah.
I got a movie.
What was it?
You People.
I hadn't seen it.
I haven't seen that.
Anyway, I'm struggling on the Netflix.
How-
Series. What series did I watch? And then I watched till the end, and I was like,
Shadow and Bone,
I hadn't seen it.
Criminal Minds.
I just started
I
it
hadn't seen it.
yesterday.
Oh my.
Outer Banks.
I hadn't seen it.
Not watching
Wow.
it.
I don't watch on TV. I'm telling you, my
Okay,
days.
what about movie?
Yeah, how about
Say go
movies?
Yeah.
movie.
Or any
It don't
show
gotta
in
be
general?
Netflix.
So I'm a fan of black women producers, etc. So I'm a fan of Issa Rae. Issa Rae was HBO, but loved some of her series and shows, but they were more HBO specific. What was the one? Lovecraft. Did y'all watch that?
Lovecraft Country?
Yeah, that was.
I haven't heard of it.
Me either.
Really.
Yeah.
See how she looked at you. Really, it's interesting. It was. I thought it was very different. I had to follow it, but I was like, yes. And then Ava DuVernay, right? Did you Central 5?
Yes, I watched it with
That
my
was
mom.
Netflix, wasn't it?
The When They See Us.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That was. I had to step away from myself. I had to sit and just breathe. And when something hits you like that, that's powerful work. And that was on Netflix. That's got to be. I hate to call it my favorite, but it was extraordinarily impactful. And I was a teenager. We're about the same age. The Central 5, that was heavy.
Your greatest teachers that have taught you in life, or would you say that you're one of the greatest teachers?
I would like to tell you that there are some students who will tell you that, and I know they are, and I can call them because now that they're adults, we're friends. But the greatest ones for me start very simply. My mother, my grandmother, my grandmothers, my aunts, the women in my life, just by design. They're teachers, even when we weren't trying to be taught, and they still are. that's important to name.
Right.
And then here are the others that hit me as I went through elementary, middle, and high. Miss Wade was my favorite fifth grade teacher. In high school, Miss Moore was my math teacher, pushed me on to do Beta Club. I was at Georgia's first Beta Club national vice president and state vice president. Like, that's my world. Like, I got a Beta Club ring at home. When college, Dr. Gloria Wade Gales, shout out to Dr. Gales. She lives here in South Fulton, but she is a professor at Spelman and completely shaped my life. And then those are all women, aren't they? But I saw myself in different ways in them.
What is your greatest school experience? Whether it be college, elementary, middle school, high school, or even graduate school?
No, the greatest experiences happened in two places. My identity changed the moment I started in August of 1990 at Spelman College. It's just going to be the greatest. Like, I was thinking about how I was very active in student government when I was in high school, but I was fighting a battle in high school. My high school was mixed race, black, white. It was a large high school, like several thousand students, and then they pulled it and created another high school. But what changed me was 350 Spelman Lane Southwest, Spelman College. The confidence and the clarity about who I am and why I am, and the imperative of what I believe I was called to do, and the boldness and the confidence around leading happened there. And it is hands down the legacy that I will never forget. To the extent that my daughter went to Spelman, and I was like, she got into several colleges, and I was like, I'm not gonna make her. But she ended up going to Spelman. I didn't make her. But Spelman made us in a different way. Yeah.
What is your greatest song in your opinion? Like, I don't know how to explain it.
Greatest of all time song.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you guys have to know that music on my really good days, like today, I play music throughout my house. Like, my house is a song machine. Like, that's how I try to touch it. Music words are powerful. The greatest? Gosh, that's hard.
Yeah.
It is. The greatest. I'll tell you the one I've probably played the most in the last 3 years. It's the one I had asked about. It's an old song. It was one of my these 45s on the wall. There is it's Anita Baker and the Winans. And it's called, you all should listen to it. If you pull it up, you should close out with it. But it's called Ain't No Need to Worry. Ain't no need to worry. The song just says, ain't no need to worry what the night is going to bring. It'll be all over in the morning. So it's like, don't worry about tomorrow. Don't, just know that tomorrow's another opportunity. And for me, that song, even on a difficult day, even when I'm just like, if that song, it kind of ministers to me in a way to be like, Lisa, focus. And tomorrow will come. It's not over. So I don't know if it's the greatest song ever, but in my existence, in my little flesh, it pours into me in a way that helps me keep going. Yeah.
This is the last question of this segment. Okay, and there we're going to.
You can ask some to us. You can ask some to us.
I have some more for you. Okay.
So what is your greatest wholesome moment, like, of your life?
My greatest
wholesome moment.
Wholesome moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Wholesome. 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 What is wholesome? It's gonna be heavy, y'all. So we're gonna have to close out with light. Y'all, I like being honest.
Okay.
The greatest because it was the most impactful. So it was wholesome. Yeah. Real quick, so my father died December 12th, 2020. I was the last person with him before we called everybody else in the family to be able to come and to say goodbye. And in that moment, I was able to thank the person, one of the people in my life that was not only a part of me being here, but has everything to do with the things that I do, to have that time to say goodbye. And then for my family to come in that moment, I saw the reality of life is short.
Mhm.
We need to be very mindful about how we value it, and that none of us are accidents. Our lives are intentional and by design. We only have so much time in it. So be confident in that. Make good decisions and live a life that we can all celebrate, but most importantly, that you can. That was pretty impactful for me. So I don't
Mhm.
want it to be sad or morbid. If I had told you this a couple of years ago, but that was wholesome for me, and it helps me think about how I live every day, and to know that there's no need to worry about what's going on. Just be all over in the morning, and I start all over again, and I'm gonna keep doing this work. That's wholesome. That's a heavy question, sir. And I thank you for it.
Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
Let's see. Got. All right. So, any closing statements, questions for
Yeah.
us?
You're talking to. Here's the close. So I don't have a closing statement. I want to thank you all for this. Don't stop doing it. Let's get us this podcast on Apple for you. Let's broaden the audience. I have some ideas. I want to champion it for you in global ways. Global. Think global. Always think bigger than where you are, because you're intended to be bigger than where you are.
Yes,
So here are
ma'am.
my questions for you. It's March 20th, 2023. What do you want to be saying about yourself March 20th, 2029? That's 6 years out.
6 years out, 2029.
What do you want to be saying? I'm so proud of you. You did what? I'm you saying to yourself, Taylor, I'm so proud of you, Taylor, because you did what? What is it?
I graduated high school on time, pretty early actually.
Yeah.
I went to college.
Yeah.
I went to college for software engineering. I'm
Yeah.
applying for jobs.
Got them. Yeah.
Hey,
2029.
I'm be in my area.
That's it. I'm with you. Yes.
5 years?
6, I think.
I gave you 6 by design.
Oh,
Yeah.
6. Okay. Ooh, I should have a couple degrees by then.
You're like, okay, that part.
I got that degree.
Yes, go feel it. I see it. Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Miles.
Wow.
That's a hard question. I'll be in my early 20s.
You will.
2029.
That's right.
I would like to say that I'm partially financially stable.
Yes.
I'll have my own place. I'll be able to send my parents money if they need it, my sister. And hopefully a few degrees, either in forensic science,
Yeah.
criminal justice, computer science,
Yes.
and hopefully just maybe a career in baseball, because that's really what I want to do.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All of it, y'all. All of it. We're going to see it. We're going to see it.
It has been our pleasure
Our joint pleasure.
Yes, ma'am.
being
very-
here today
Sister.
on this very wholesome Monday.
Yes.
Connections.
Wholesome.
Connections.
I am because we are. And because we are, therefore I am. Yes.
But this has been the Panther Proud Podcast. We are your host. This is your very special superintendent, and we are out.
We out. Love it. Thank you all. It's been amazing.